You know that moment when you realize your marriage isn't what you thought it was? Mine happened at a birthday party in front of 20 strangers when my wife told everyone I was basically her roommate. Let me back up a bit. My wife had been acting differently for months. More distant, more critical, always on her phone. But I figured every marriage goes through rough patches, right? So when she asked me to drive her to her friend's birthday party last Saturday, I said sure. Why not try to reconnect? The party was at some upscale house in the suburbs. The kind of place where everyone drinks wine that costs more than my lunch budget for a week. I should have known what kind of night it would be when she got out of the car and immediately started scanning the crowd like she was hunting. Oh my God, is that Jake from college? She didn't even wait for an answer before strutting over to some guy by the pool. I followed behind, carrying her purse like a trained dog. The next 3 hours were a masterclass in public humiliation. She flirted with every guy there while treating me like hired help. Honey, can you get me another wine? Baby, hold this while I take a selfie with the girls. Sweetie, the car keys are in your pocket, right? But it wasn't just the errands. She was actively flirting, touching arms, laughing too loud at mediocre jokes, giving out her Instagram to guys half her age. When some muscle-bound trainer started telling her about his workout routine, she practically melted into the guy's biceps. I stood there, watching my wife act like she was single while holding her designer purse and car keys. The irony wasn't lost on anyone at that party. Other wives were giving me sympathetic looks. Their husbands avoided eye contact entirely. Around hour 2, she was deep in conversation with some tech bro about cryptocurrency. He was obviously trying to impress her, and she was eating it up. When he asked if she was married, she glanced at me and said, "Technically, yes, but my husband doesn't really understand modern investment strategies." That's when I realized she wasn't just flirting. She was actively diminishing me to make herself more available to these guys. The breaking point came when her cousin approached us by the kitchen island. Nice woman, always been friendly to me at family gatherings. She looked confused seeing my wife practically draped over some wannabe influencer while I stood there holding drinks. "So how are you two doing? How's married life treating you?" My wife didn't hesitate. With a theatrical laugh that carried across the entire room, she announced, "What marriage? I'm basically single with a roommate who pays half the bills." The group around us erupted in laughter. The influencer guy smirked like he'd just won something. Her cousin looked mortified. Other conversations stopped as people turned to see what was so funny. Everyone was staring at me, waiting for my reaction. Some looked amused, others seemed uncomfortable, but they were all watching the show. I smiled. Not a forced smile, not an embarrassed grimace. A genuine, calm smile. "Well," I said, setting down the drinks I'd been holding, "I'm glad we cleared that up. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone." I walked over to my wife, who was still giggling with her new audience. "Since you're basically single now, I assume you have a ride home?" Her face changed instantly. The laughter died in her throat as she realized what I was saying. "Wait, you're not seriously leaving me here? You just told everyone you're single with a roommate. Roommates don't give rides to single women at parties. That's more of a husband thing." I could see the panic starting to creep into her eyes, but I was already walking toward the door. Behind me, I heard her making excuses to her new friends about how I was just being dramatic. The drive home was the most peaceful 20 minutes I'd had in months. No criticism about my driving, no demands to stop somewhere, no commentary about how other couples do things better. Just silence and the slow realization that my roommate was about to learn what actual single life looks like. When I got home that night, the house felt different, quieter, like the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. I didn't slam doors or throw things. I didn't pace around rehearsing angry speeches. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in years. I sat down and really thought about my marriage. The kitchen table became my command center. I pulled out a notepad and started writing down facts. Not emotions, not hurt feelings. Just cold, hard facts about the last 2 years of my life. Fact, my wife publicly declared she considers herself single. Fact, she's been treating me like hired help for months. Fact, she flirted with multiple men in front of me without any shame. Fact, when given the chance to defend our marriage, she chose to mock it instead. The list got longer as the night went on. Things I'd been making excuses for, explaining away, or just flat out ignoring because I thought that's what good husbands do. Around midnight, my phone started buzzing. Text after text from her. This is ridiculous. Come pick me up. I'm not getting an Uber. It's expensive. You're being childish. It was just a joke. Fine, be that way. I'll find my own ride. Each message told me everything I needed to know. Not one apology. Not one acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, calling your husband a roommate in front of strangers crosses a line. I turned the phone face down and kept writing. By 2 a.m., I had 3 pages of notes and a clarity I hadn't felt in years. This wasn't about one bad night at a party. This was about a pattern of disrespect that had been building for so long. I'd started thinking it was normal. When she finally came home around 3 a.m., I was already in bed. I heard her stumbling around downstairs, probably expecting me to get up and start a fight. The old me would have. I would have confronted her, demanded explanations, given her the chance to gaslight me into thinking I was overreacting. But the new me just lay there, listening to her crash into furniture and curse under her breath. She was clearly drunk, probably got that ride from one of her new admirers at the party. She made it upstairs eventually and stood in the bedroom doorway for a full minute. I could feel her staring at me, trying to decide if I was really asleep or just avoiding the conversation. I kept my breathing steady and even. Let her think I was sleeping. Let her think she'd won this round. When she finally got into bed, reeking of alcohol and someone else's cologne, I almost broke. Almost turned over and demanded to know whose car she'd been in, whose cologne she was wearing. But I didn't, because I already knew the answer didn't matter. What mattered was what I was going to do about it. The next morning, she woke up with a hangover and an attitude. So, are we going to talk about last night? Or are you going to keep acting like a child? I was making coffee, the same routine we'd had for 5 years. What's there to talk about? You made your position pretty clear. It was a joke. Everyone knew it was a joke. Right? A joke. I handed her a cup of coffee, exactly how she likes it. 2 sugars, splash of cream. How was your ride home? She paused, trying to read my tone. Fine. What? Just curious. Since you're single now, I figured you'd want to start building your own support network. Stop being weird. I'm going to shower. After she left for work, I made 2 phone calls. The first was to take a personal day. The second was to a lawyer I'd found online with good reviews and reasonable rates. Not the kind of lawyer who charges $500 an hour for consultations. The kind who works with middle-class people going through middle-class divorces. I had an appointment for Thursday afternoon. For the rest of the week, I played the perfect roommate. Polite, helpful, completely emotionally detached. When she complained about her day, I listened and said appropriate things. When she wanted to watch her shows, I didn't argue about the remote. But I also stopped doing husband things. I didn't fill up her car with gas. I didn't pick up her dry cleaning. I didn't remind her about her dentist appointment. She noticed, but she couldn't really complain about it. After all, roommates don't typically handle each other's personal errands. By Wednesday, she was getting frustrated. You're acting strange. What's your problem? No problem. Just respecting your boundaries. You said you're basically single, so I'm treating you like you're basically single. You know I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it then? She couldn't answer that question, because we both knew exactly how she meant it. Thursday afternoon, I sat in a law office that smelled like coffee and old carpet, talking to a man who'd been handling divorces for 20 years. He was straightforward, no nonsense, and surprisingly affordable. Based on what you're telling me, this should be relatively straightforward. No kids, you both work, the house is in your name. The main question is whether you want to try mediation first or go straight to filing. What's the difference? Mediation assumes both parties want to work things out. Filing assumes at least one party has made up their mind. I thought about her laughing at that party, her complete lack of remorse, the way she'd been treating our marriage like an inconvenience for months. I've made up my mind. Then we'll start the paperwork. I'll need some documents from you, bank statements, the deed to the house, tax returns. How soon do you want to move on this? How soon can we move? He smiled. I like clients who know what they want. Give me the documents by Monday, and we can file by the end of next week. When I got home that evening, she was on the couch scrolling through social media, probably reliving her conquest from the party. How was work? She asked without looking up. Productive, I said. Very productive. That night, while she slept off another evening of wine and social media validation, I gathered every document I'd need. Bank statements, insurance papers, the house deed, our marriage certificate. Funny how much paperwork it takes to end something that started with just 2 signatures and a kiss. The following week, I became a ghost in my own house. Not invisible, just strategically absent from the emotional chaos my wife kept trying to create. She'd gotten comfortable with my new roommate behavior over the weekend, probably thinking she'd train me into submission. Monday morning, she even made a joke about it. Look at you, being all independent and mysterious. It's almost attractive. I just smiled and handed her coffee. Glad you approve. What she didn't know was that I'd spent Sunday organizing every important document in our house. What she also didn't know was that I'd already moved half our savings into a separate account. Not hiding it, not stealing it. Just protecting what was legally mine before things got complicated. Tuesday, I took another personal day to meet with the lawyer again. This time, we went through everything in detail. Asset division, timeline, what to expect when she got served. The house is entirely in your name, he confirmed, looking at the deed. Yes, I bought it 2 years before we got married. She's not on the mortgage or the title. That simplifies things considerably. What about joint accounts? One checking account for household expenses. I moved my portion to a personal account yesterday. He nodded approvingly. Smart. A lot of people wait until after they file and then wonder why their spouse cleaned out the bank account. Any joint credit cards? 2. But I've been tracking the spending for months. I pulled out a folder I'd prepared. Mostly restaurants, shopping, stuff for herself. Nothing I'd consider marital debt. You've been planning this longer than you initially let on. No, I've been documenting this longer than I realized. I just didn't know what I was documenting it for until last Saturday. We scheduled the serving for Friday afternoon. She'd be at work, in her office, surrounded by colleagues. Professional but public enough that she couldn't have a complete meltdown. The rest of Tuesday and all of Wednesday, she kept fishing for reactions. She'd mention random guys from the party, talk about plans with friends I'd never heard of, even brought up the idea of updating our living situation to be more modern. Maybe we should think about separate bedrooms. Some couples find it helps their relationship. Whatever makes you comfortable, I said. I mean, we're practically roommates anyway, right? Your words, not mine. She was trying to push me into a fight, into giving her ammunition to justify whatever she was planning. But I learned something important that week. The person who stays calm controls the conversation. Thursday evening, she came home from what she called a work dinner at 11 p.m., smelling like wine and cologne again. Different cologne than Saturday night. How was dinner? I asked from the couch, not looking away from the TV. Fine. Boring work stuff. You know how it is. Must have been a long presentation. She paused halfway up the stairs. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just noting that most work dinners end before 11 p.m. Are you keeping tabs on me now? Nope. Just making conversation. Like roommates do. I could feel her staring at me, trying to figure out my angle. But there wasn't one. I genuinely didn't care where she'd been or who she'd been with. That realization was probably more unsettling to her than any jealous accusation would have been. Friday morning, she seemed nervous, kept checking her phone, asking me weird questions about my schedule. What time will you be home tonight? Regular time. What? Just wondering if you want to order takeout or something. Sure, whatever you want. She left for work looking confused and slightly panicked, like she'd been expecting some kind of confrontation that never came. At 3 p.m., while I was sitting in a coffee shop near my office, my lawyer texted me. Papers served. She called the office asking questions. Told her to have her attorney contact me. I ordered another coffee and waited. My phone started ringing at 3:47 p.m. What the hell is this? What are these papers? Divorce papers, I assume. I haven't seen them, but that's what I asked my lawyer to prepare. Your lawyer? When did you get a lawyer? Tuesday. You can't just decide to get divorced without talking to me first. I tried talking to you Saturday night. You told me we weren't married. That was a joke, was it? Because you've been treating me like a roommate for months. I figured you'd appreciate me making it official. She was crying now, that angry crying that happens when someone realizes they've lost control of a situation. You can't do this. You can't just leave me because of one stupid comment at a party. I'm not leaving you because of one comment. I'm leaving you because you meant that comment. And because you've been acting single for months while expecting me to act married. Come home. We need to talk about this. We can talk when you have a lawyer. Mine says that's how these things work. I hung up and ordered a third coffee. My phone buzzed with texts for the next hour. Anger, bargaining, threats, promises. The classic stages of someone who suddenly realizes their actions have consequences. When I finally got home around 6 p.m., She was waiting in the living room with red eyes and a glass of wine. We need to fix this. There's nothing to fix. You told me what you wanted. I'm giving it to you. I don't want a divorce. You want to be single with a roommate. That's exactly what you're about to get. That night, she tried everything. Crying, yelling, seducing, threatening. I sat through it all with the same calm I'd had at that party. Because I finally understood something that took me 5 years to learn. You can't negotiate with someone who doesn't respect you. And respect isn't something you can demand. It's something you have to enforce. Over the weekend, she went through every emotion in the book. Saturday morning started with anger, moved to bargaining by lunch, and ended with what I can only describe as strategic confusion. I don't understand why you're being so cold about this. We can work through anything. We could have worked through anything. Past tense. You're not even giving me a chance to explain. Explain what? That you've been treating our marriage like a joke for months? That you publicly humiliated me because you thought it was funny? That you've been coming home smelling like other men's cologne? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Because we both knew there was no explanation that would make any of that acceptable. Sunday, she tried a different approach. She cleaned the house, made my favorite breakfast, even suggested we watch a movie together. See, we can still have nice moments. We don't have to throw this all away. This is nice, I agreed. Very roommate friendly. Stop calling us roommates. You did that, not me. By Monday, she'd moved into full panic mode. I could hear her on the phone in the other room, probably calling every friend she had for advice on how to handle a husband who wasn't playing by the usual rules. I don't know what happened to him. He's like a completely different person. That made me smile. She was right. I was different. I was done being the understanding husband who absorbed disrespect in the name of keeping peace. Tuesday evening, she tried to corner me about finances. I can't access the savings account. The bank says I need to talk to you. That's correct. Well, can you transfer some money back? I have bills to pay. What bills? My credit card, my car payment, normal stuff. Your car payment comes out of your checking account automatically. Your credit card bills are your responsibility since they're in your name for your purchases. Since when do we handle money separately? Since you decided we were roommates. Roommates split bills, they don't share accounts. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You're really going to play these games? No games. I'm just respecting the relationship dynamic you established. Wednesday, she brought back up. Her sister came over for dinner, clearly on a mission to talk sense into me. You two have been together for 5 years. You can't throw that away over a misunderstanding. What was misunderstood? I asked genuinely. Her sister looked to my wife for help. My wife looked at her plate. She didn't mean what she said at the party. She was just being dramatic. So she was lying to make herself look good to strangers? That's not. It's more complicated than that. How? Another silence. Because it wasn't complicated at all. My wife had said exactly what she meant, and now everyone was scrambling to find a way to make it mean something else. After her sister left, she tried the direct approach. Fine. You want an apology? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said that stupid thing at the party. There. Can we move on now? What are you sorry for, specifically? For saying we were roommates. Are you sorry you said it? Or are you sorry that's how you feel? I don't feel that way. Then why did you say it? Because I was drunk and showing off and being stupid. So you lied to strangers to impress them at my expense? She realized she'd just walked into another trap. Either she meant what she said, or she was willing to humiliate her husband for social points. Neither option made her look good. Thursday brought a new strategy, guilt. I talked to a lawyer today. He said you're entitled to half of everything anyway. So why are you being so vindictive about the money? I'm not being vindictive. I moved my money to protect it. Your lawyer should have explained that to you. He also said the house thing is complicated because I've been living here for 3 years. The house thing isn't complicated at all. It's my house. I bought it. I pay for it. It's in my name. You living here doesn't change ownership. But I've contributed to the household. You've contributed to groceries and utilities. That's not the same as contributing to the mortgage. She was getting frustrated because her lawyer had obviously told her something different than what she wanted to hear. Friday evening, she pulled out the nuclear option. I know you're mad, but we both know you're not actually going through with this. You're trying to scare me into behaving better. I looked up from the book I was reading. What makes you think that? Because you love me. And because divorce is expensive and complicated, and you hate dealing with complicated stuff. You're right about one thing. Divorce is expensive. That's why I've been setting money aside for the last month. Her face went pale. You've been planning this for a month? I've been documenting our problems for a month. I've been planning the divorce since Saturday night. You can't have made this decision that fast. Watch me. That night, she didn't come to bed until after 2 a.m. I heard her on the phone in the guest room, crying to someone about how unreasonable I was being. But here's what she still didn't understand. I wasn't being unreasonable. I was being consistent. She'd spent months treating me like I was optional. Now she was finding out what life looks like when someone actually becomes optional. And apparently, she didn't like the view from that side of the relationship. Too bad. She should have thought about that before she decided to play house with other people while keeping me around to pay the bills. Saturday morning, I decided it was time to stop playing defense and start playing offense. She'd spent the week trying different strategies to manipulate the situation, but she still didn't understand that I was done negotiating. She was at the kitchen table with her laptop, probably researching divorce laws or texting her friends for more advice. I sat down across from her with my coffee and my phone. "We need to have a real conversation about this," she said without looking up. Agreed. Let's start with this. I placed my phone on the table and hit play. Her own voice filled the kitchen. "What marriage? I'm basically single with a roommate who pays half the bills." Followed by laughter. Her friends' laughter, strangers laughing at her joke about our marriage. She went white. "You recorded me?" "I recorded a public conversation at a party. Nothing illegal about that. You can't use that in court." "Actually, I can. My lawyer confirmed it. One-party consent state, public setting, no expectation of privacy. It's perfectly admissible." She stared at the phone like it was a venomous snake. "You're really going to use my own words against me?" "I'm not using them against you. You used them against yourself. I'm just making sure there's no confusion about what you meant. It was taken out of context." "What context makes that statement acceptable to say about your husband in front of strangers?" She couldn't answer that because there wasn't an answer. "How long have you been planning to humiliate me like this?" "I haven't been planning anything. I've been reacting to your behavior. There's a difference." She closed her laptop and leaned back in her chair, studying me like she was seeing me for the first time. "You're not the same person I married." "You're right. The person you married would have spent the last week apologizing for making you uncomfortable and begging you to explain what he did wrong." "And what's wrong with that?" "Everything. Because the problem was never what I did wrong. The problem was what you chose to do, repeatedly, without any consequences." She was quiet for a long moment. I could see her brain working, trying to find a new angle, a different approach. "So what do you want? You want me to grovel? You want me to promise to never embarrass you again? Fine. I promise. I don't want promises. I want a divorce. Why won't you just tell me what I need to do to fix this?" "Because it's not broken. It's finished. There's a difference." "That's not fair." "Fair." I laughed, and even I was surprised by how genuinely amused I sounded. "You spent months treating me like an employee, flirted with other men in front of me, publicly declared that you don't consider us married, and I'm the one being unfair?" "I made a mistake." "No, you made a choice. You've been making that choice for months. The party was just where you finally said it out loud." She started crying then, but it wasn't the manipulative crying from earlier in the week. This was different. This was the crying of someone who finally realized she'd lost something she thought she could take for granted forever. "I don't want to lose you. You already lost me. You lost me the first time you treated me like I was disposable. Everything since then has just been paperwork. Can't we try counseling? Can't we try to work through this?" "Work through what? You telling your therapist that you called your husband a roommate at a party? You explaining to a professional that you've been coming home smelling like other men? You describing how you flirt with strangers while your husband watches?" Each question hit her like a physical blow, because she was finally hearing her behavior described by someone who wasn't going to make excuses for it. "I never cheated on you. I never said you did. But you've been auditioning for something better while keeping me around as a backup plan. That might not be cheating, but it's not marriage either. So that's it. 5 years, and you're just walking away." "I'm not walking away. I'm being honest about what's already happened. You walked away months ago. You just expected me to follow behind you, carrying your purse and pretending nothing changed." She buried her face in her hands. "What am I supposed to do now?" "Whatever single people do. You've been practicing for months. I can't afford to live alone. That's not my problem anymore. You're really going to put me out on the street? I'm going to live in my house. You'll need to find your own place. When The divorce papers specify 60 days. My lawyer says that's standard and generous. 60 days? That's not enough time. It's more time than you gave me to process being called a roommate at a party. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. I hate what I did to us. Good. You should hate it. Maybe that'll help you treat the next guy better. There's not going to be a next guy. There's always a next guy with you. The difference is, he won't have to watch you shop for his replacement at parties. That evening, she tried one last time to find a compromise. What if I moved into the guest room temporarily? Just until I find a place? I wouldn't bother you. I'd pay rent. It would be like actual roommates. No. Why not? Because I'm done being convenient for you. Please. I'm asking for help. You should have thought about asking for help before you decided to ask for a divorce without actually filing the paperwork. I never asked for a divorce. Yes, you did. You just did it in the worst possible way. You asked for all the benefits of being single while keeping all the benefits of being married. That's not sustainable. I was just being stupid and dramatic. And I was just being smart and decisive. The next morning, she was gone when I woke up. Her car was gone, most of her clothes were gone, and there was a note on the kitchen counter. I'm staying with my sister until I figure things out. I hope you're happy. I poured myself coffee and sat down to read the morning news. I was happy. For the first time in months, I was genuinely, completely happy. The house was quiet, peaceful mine. No one was going to walk through that door later and treat me like hired help. No one was going to flirt with strangers while expecting me to watch and smile. No one was going to publicly humiliate me and then get angry when I had the audacity to respond with dignity. I was free, and it felt incredible. 3 weeks later, she came back, not to move back in, but to discuss our situation like adults. She'd been staying with her sister, and apparently that arrangement was wearing thin on everyone involved. I've had time to think, and I realized we both made mistakes. I was sitting on my couch, in my house, drinking coffee from my favorite mug that hadn't been moved or borrowed or criticized in weeks. What mistakes did I make? You gave up on us too easily. You didn't fight for our marriage. I fought for our marriage for months. You just didn't notice because I was fighting alone. That's not true. When's the last time you did something specifically to make me happy? Not something that made you look good or feel good, but something purely for my benefit. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence stretched out for nearly a minute. I can't think of a specific example right now, but I know I've done things. That's the problem. You can't think of any because you haven't done any. Marriage became something that happened to you, not something you participated in. I want to try again. I want to participate now. Too late. Why is it too late? People change, people grow, marriages can recover from worse than this. Because I don't want to recover. I want to move forward. She sat down uninvited on the chair across from me. I miss you. You miss having a husband. There's a difference. No, I miss you specifically. I miss talking to you. I miss sleeping next to you. I miss being part of a team. We were never a team. We were a husband and a person who happened to live with a husband. That's harsh. It's accurate. She tried a different approach. I talked to my sister about what happened. She said maybe I was just scared of being too dependent on you. So I overcompensated by acting independent. Is that your explanation or hers? Does it matter? Yes, because if it's hers, then you're still letting other people speak for you instead of taking responsibility for your own choices. Fine, it's mine. I was scared of losing myself in the marriage, so I pulled back too far. That's a nice theory, but it doesn't explain the flirting, the public humiliation, or the complete lack of respect. I know I messed up, but can't we try to fix it? Here's what would happen if we tried to fix it. You'd be on your best behavior for a few months. You'd be attentive and apologetic and grateful. And then, slowly, you'd start taking me for granted again. Because that's who you are when you feel secure. You don't know that. I do know that. Because it's what happened the first 3 years of our marriage. You were perfect until you felt like you had me locked down, and then you gradually stopped trying. She was crying again, but quietly this time. So there's nothing I can do? No way to prove that I've learned from this. You can prove it to the next guy. Treat him better from the beginning. I don't want a next guy. I want my husband back. Your husband doesn't exist anymore. He died at that party when you laughed with strangers about how much you didn't value him. Don't say that. It's true. The man who would have spent this week negotiating and compromising and apologizing for making you uncomfortable is gone. I killed him myself. She stared at me for a long moment. You're different. You're colder. I'm not colder. I'm just not warm specifically for you anymore. What does that mean? It means I save my warmth for people who appreciate it. I appreciate it. You appreciate having access to it. That's not the same thing. The final divorce papers were signed 2 months later. She tried one last manipulation at the lawyer's office. I just want you to know that I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life. Good, I said, signing my name with a firm hand. Regret is what people feel when they finally understand the value of something they threw away. You don't have to be cruel. I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. You spent months showing me that I was disposable. Now you're discovering that disposable things eventually get disposed of. Her lawyer shuffled papers uncomfortably. My lawyer smiled slightly. He'd seen this dynamic play out 100 times before. I hope you find someone who makes you happy, she said as we walked out of the building. I already did. Who? Myself. 6 months later, I'm sitting in the same coffee shop where I waited for her divorce papers to be served. Same table, same order, completely different life. My phone buzzes with a text from a mutual friend. Saw your ex at a party last weekend. She was asking about you. I delete the text without responding. Some people spend their lives wondering what would have happened if they'd made different choices. I know exactly what would have happened if I'd made different choices. I'd still be sitting at parties, watching my wife flirt with strangers while holding her purse. Instead, I'm planning a weekend trip to the mountains. Alone, because I want to be alone. Not because someone else decided I was suitable company for errands, but not for entertainment. The house is mine. The money is mine. The decisions are mine. But most importantly, the respect is mine. Because I finally learned the most important lesson of my adult life. You can't demand respect from people who don't value you, but you can demand it from yourself. And sometimes, that's all the respect you need.